Someone holds you dear because you showed them love isn't meant to hurt. It sounds simple when said aloud, like a soft breath in a quiet room, yet behind that truth lives an entire universe of healing. It lives in moments when someone who once flinched at affection finally lets themselves lean into a touch. It lives in the way their voice softens when speaking to someone who taught them safety. It lives in the silent gratitude of a soul that has spent too many years expecting storms and is finally learning that sunshine can be real, gentle, and consistent. And the beautiful thing is that you may not even realize how much you changed in them. You may not understand that the warmth you give so naturally was, for them, the very thing they once believed they would never experience without pain. People rarely talk about how much courage it takes to trust again, especially after being broken by the very thing they once craved. But when someone feels safe with you, truly, deeply safe, it's a testament to the way you love. Not the loud kind of love that demands attention, but the steady kind that whispers, "You don't have to be afraid here." You become a home they never knew they could have. A place where their bruises don't need to be hidden, where their fears aren't mocked, where their mistakes aren't used as weapons against them. And they hold you dear because you reminded them that love never needed to be synonymous with suffering. You may not have given them grand gestures. Maybe you just listened, really listened. Maybe you made space for their emotions instead of shutting them down. Maybe you didn't run when they opened up, when their voice shook, when old memories triggered new insecurities. Maybe you stayed patient when they blamed themselves for things beyond their control. Maybe you understood them in a way they never understood themselves. Maybe you made them feel like they didn't have to earn affection by abandoning their own needs. And maybe for the first time in a long time, they realized they are allowed to exist without apologizing for taking up space. The power of gentle love is underestimated. Anyone can say they care, but it takes a rare heart to show care through patience, kindness, and consistency. It takes a rare heart to hold another person's pain without being overwhelmed by it. It takes a rare heart to say, "I see you," not only when they shine, but also when they tremble. The truth is, many people have only known love intertwined with fear, fear of being left, fear of being ridiculed, fear of being controlled, fear of being misunderstood. Some were taught that affection is conditional. Others believed they needed to prove their worth through sacrifice or silence. Some were convinced that if they didn't endure the hurt, they would never receive the love. And then someone like you came along. Someone who didn't ask them to diminish themselves. Someone who didn't punish them for being vulnerable. Someone who allowed them to exhale. That exhale is everything. It's the quiet moment when their shoulders drop and their heart expands. It's when they realize that they no longer need to brace for impact. When someone holds you dear because you showed them love isn't meant to hurt, what they're really saying is, "You rewrote the script in my heart." They're saying, "I didn't know love could feel like relief." They're saying, You helped me believe in something I thought I had lost forever. They hold you close not out of dependency, but out of grateful recognition. They see in you the embodiment of everything they hoped love could be: gentle, steady, warm, patient, honest, safe. And here's the beautiful truth: love that heals doesn't require perfection. It doesn't ask you to always know the right words or the right actions. It asks you to show up, to care sincerely, to apologize when you're wrong, to grow when you're needed, to hold compassion even when emotions run high. Healing love understands that connection isn't a performance, it's a partnership. And when you offer that kind of love, even unknowingly, it becomes a mirror of hope for someone who once believed hope was a lie. Sometimes you will wonder why someone values you so deeply. You might think you didn't do anything remarkable. You might underestimate your softness because it feels natural to you. But for someone else, your softness is revolutionary. It is the thing that cracked open a locked heart. It is the light that gently seeped into places they had long kept in darkness. It is the warmth they had forgotten existed. You showed them that affection doesn't have to be followed by anguish, that communication doesn't have to be paired with manipulation, that closeness doesn't have to feel suffocating. You showed them what love can be when it's real, and real love, true, honest, guiding love, isn't found through perfection but through presence. It's found in the way you held space for them even when they struggled to hold space for themselves. It's found in your laughter that reminded them joy doesn't have to be temporary. It's found in the small messages you sent when they felt alone. It's found in the way you looked at them with understanding rather than judgment. It's found in the promises you kept, in the patience you offered, in the trust you built slowly and safely. It's found in every moment you helped them feel human again. People heal in the presence of kindness. They open in the presence of gentleness. They become themselves in the presence of sincerity. And when someone holds you dear, it's not simply because you were there, it's because you were different. You became the interruption to the pattern of hurt they were accustomed to. You became the moment their heart realized it didn't need armor all the time. You became the experience that shifted their understanding of affection from something dangerous to something nourishing. There's something deeply beautiful about being the reason someone believes in goodness again. But remember this: their healing is not your burden, nor their gratitude your responsibility to maintain. You did not save them. You simply reminded them that they were never meant to drown. You didn't fix their past, you simply gave them a present moment serene enough for their wounds to breathe. And you don't owe them perfection, you simply owe them honesty and compassion, the same way they owe it to you. Love is not meant to be a rescue mission. It is meant to be a journey shared by two people who choose each other again and again despite the storms that try to pull them apart. When someone holds you dear because you showed them love isn't meant to hurt, it speaks not just to your capacity to give love but also to your capacity to understand love. It shows that you know tenderness is not weakness, that empathy is not naivete, that vulnerability is not shameful. You understand that the real strength in love lies in caring without conditions, listening without assumptions, and supporting without suffocating. You understand that love is not control, nor ownership, nor obligation. It is freedom wrapped in warmth, stability wrapped in trust, companionship wrapped in mutual respect. Love that doesn't hurt invites growth. It invites courage. It invites peace. And because of the way you love, someone has found all three. They've learned that arguments don't need to break them, that apologies don't need to feel like humiliation, that asking for reassurance doesn't make them needy. They've learned that their voice matters, their feelings matter, their presence matters. They've learned that connection can be a soft place to land rather than a battlefield. And perhaps the most touching part is that they love you not because you made life perfect, but because you made love make sense. You reminded them that affection is not something to fear. You reminded them that being cared for doesn't diminish their independence. You reminded them that trust is not a trap. You reminded them that loyalty is a choice, not a chain. You reminded them that their heart is worthy of gentleness, beautiful enough for sincerity, and strong enough for intimacy. You were the proof they needed, and maybe, in the process, they became proof for you too. Because love that doesn't hurt is not one-sided. When you offer it, you often receive it in return. Their healing becomes a reflection of your kindness. Their growth becomes a reminder of your impact. Their gratitude becomes a quiet affirmation that the way you love is rare, valuable, and powerful. You don't just change someone else, you change yourself. You realize that you, too, deserve a love that doesn't collapse into chaos. You, too, deserve the gentleness you give. You, too, deserve a connection that feels effortless, comforting, and real. Love that heals is reciprocal. It lifts two people, not one. It expands in both directions. When someone holds you dear, it is because your heart met theirs halfway. It is because the warmth you extended came back to you in a form just as meaningful. And through this exchange, both of you discover that love, true love, has nothing to do with pain. It has nothing to do with losing oneself or carrying emotional wounds alone. It has everything to do with shared strength, shared comfort, shared understanding. It's the tenderness in everyday moments. The small gestures that become the foundation of something unbreakable. The honesty that builds trust slowly and steadily. The laughter that replaces old fears. The closeness that doesn't suffocate but rather liberates. The patience that feels like a soft hand guiding rather than pulling. The quiet loyalty that says, "I'm here," even on the days when words fall short. If you ever doubt your worth, remember this: someone holds you dear because you reminded them of something they forgot. Something essential, something life-changing, something deeply human. You reminded them that their heart is not a burden. You reminded them that love is allowed to feel like safety. You reminded them that affection can be cleansing, comforting, and transformative. You reminded them of the possibility of peace. And for that, they will always hold you close, not out of dependency but out of reverence for the person you helped them become. There is a unique beauty in teaching someone that love does not have to be a battlefield. And there is an even greater beauty in knowing that you did it simply by being yourself. Your warmth, your sincerity, your presence, it was enough. More than enough. Healing enough. Hopeful enough. You didn't try to prove anything. You didn't force anything. You just loved in the way that felt natural to you, and that natural love changed someone's world. And someday, if you ever wonder what your purpose is or whether you make a difference, think of this: your existence softened someone's fear. Your patience erased someone's doubt. Your love revived someone's belief in tenderness. You made someone feel safe in a world that had previously taught them to be guarded. You helped someone feel worthy in a past that had taught them to feel disposable. You showed someone that love, at its core, is meant to heal, not harm. They cherish you because you helped them rediscover themselves. And that is one of the greatest gifts one human being can give another. Love is never meant to hurt. And because of you, someone finally understands that. What makes this connection even more extraordinary is that the love you give isn't loud or demanding, it's quiet, consistent, and real. The kind of love that doesn't announce itself but is felt in the way someone's breathing slows when they're near you, in the way their voice steadies when you listen, in the way they no longer brace themselves when you speak. You became the calm after years of storms they pretended didn't break them. You became the reassurance they didn't know how to ask for. And because of that, their heart holds you with a tenderness that comes only from recognizing someone who made life softer. Sometimes healing doesn't arrive in huge shifts. Sometimes it comes in small moments: a gentle morning message, a patient conversation at midnight, a look that says you're okay with me. You may not realize how deeply those moments sink into someone's spirit. You may not know that your presence replaced their old instinct to run, that your kindness loosened emotional knots they had carried for too long, that your attention quieted the fear that they would always have to beg for affection. To you, it may simply be how you love. But to them, it is the first time love has felt like home instead of chaos, and because of that, something begins to grow quietly between you, not attachment built from fear, not dependence built from insecurity, but connection built from mutual gentleness. It's the kind of connection where two souls recognize each other not because of perfection, but because of presence. Where someone looks at you and sees not just a partner, a friend, or a companion, but a turning point. A moment in their life when everything began to shift toward softness. A moment when their heart whispered, "Maybe I am safe now." The love you give teaches them that affection doesn't have to be earned by sacrificing their needs. They begin to realize they are allowed to feel, allowed to speak, allowed to take up emotional space, allowed to be imperfect. allowed to have bad days without fearing abandonment, allowed to trust without expecting betrayal. You gave them permission to exist naturally, freely, authentically. And because of that, they hold you in a part of their soul that is protected and sacred, because you touched places they never showed anyone. When someone holds you dear because you showed them love isn't meant to hurt, it becomes a bond deeper than words. They start to look at you with gratitude woven into every glance, with peace stitched into every silence, with affection blooming in every shared moment. They begin to believe that love can be gentle even when life isn't, that connection can be strong without needing to be loud, that trust can be built slowly and still be unbreakable. They begin to understand that they, too, are capable of giving back the love they once feared they were unworthy of, and the beauty is, you don't just heal them. Their healing reflects back onto you. Because loving someone who has been wounded teaches you patience, teaches you honesty, teaches you the art of soft persistence. It teaches you that love is not measured by how fast hearts open, but by how safely they unfold. It teaches you that tenderness given is tenderness returned, even if slowly. It teaches you that your heart, too, is worthy of choosing and being chosen. And somewhere along the journey, without even trying, you start to heal parts of yourself you didn't realize were hurting. You start to understand that the love you give is powerful, not because it is perfect, but because it is sincere. You begin to see that your compassion is not a weakness, that your gentleness is not naive, that your patience is not unnoticed. You begin to feel appreciated in ways you've longed for, not through grand declarations but through small, meaningful signs, the steady trust, the way they open up, the way they come to you not out of fear but out of comfort. Healing love is built on these tiny moments, and you are the quiet architect of a connection that feels like sunrise after a long night. And the more you give, the more you receive. Not in the same form, not always instantly, but always truthfully. Because someone who learns love from you learns, too, how to give it back. They begin to understand that the heart standing before them is not here to wound, but to walk beside them. And in time, they hold you dear not just because you showed them love isn't meant to hurt, but because they discovered that loving you doesn't hurt either. It feels like relief. It feels like ease. It feels like something precious and rare, something they want to protect, nurture, and grow, and slowly, they begin to love you with the same gentleness you offered them, the same honesty you showed them, the same patience you gifted them. Their love becomes a reflection, a softened echo, of the warmth you brought into their life. And that is how healing becomes mutual. That is how trust becomes shared. That is how two hearts learn to meet in the same place, without fear, without hesitation, without the ghosts of old pain dictating new paths. The story doesn't end with someone holding you dear. It continues in the way they begin to choose you, not out of obligation, not out of need, but out of genuine affection. It continues in the way you both grow into your own forms of softness, learning each other's language, each other's fears, each other's dreams. It continues in the quiet moments. The deep conversations, the shared silences, the unspoken comfort of simply being together. It continues in the strength built from vulnerability, the trust built from honesty, the warmth built from everyday kindness, because now they know love isn't meant to hurt, and because of you, they will never forget it, and as the journey unfolds, there comes a moment, quiet, gentle, almost unnoticed, when you realize that the love you offered has created something enduring. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, not born from desperation or fear, but steady and alive. You begin to see how deeply you are woven into someone's world, not because you demanded a place, but because your presence felt like peace. They hold you dear because you became a part of the healing they never believed possible. And you hold them dear because, without knowing it, they opened spaces in you that had long been closed. Love that doesn't hurt feels like two hearts breathing in the same rhythm. It feels like conversations that unravel hidden corners of the soul. It feels like a softness you didn't know you needed until you finally felt it. It feels like a calm warmth spreading through your chest when you talk to them, an ease that settles into your bones when you're near them. It feels like being understood without having to explain every detail of your past. It feels like you're no longer walking alone. Someone who once feared love now feels safe loving you back. And that is not a small thing. That is not something to overlook. It is a testament to the way you choose people, not with possession, not with pressure, but with patience, kindness, and truth. You showed them that love is allowed to feel like comfort. You showed them that they are allowed to receive without fear. You showed them that they are worthy of being treated gently. And because you gave them that clarity, they will forever have a space where their heart breathes easier, and you, too, receive something precious. You receive a connection that doesn't make your heart heavy. You receive a love that doesn't punish you for caring. You receive a presence that doesn't drain you, but fills you. You receive someone who looks at you with gratitude shaped from their own transformation. Someone who loves you not only for who you are, but for who they became because of you. Someone who sees your softness not as weakness, but as the strength that allowed them to trust again. This is the beauty of love that heals. It deepens over time. It grows roots in honesty. It strengthens through vulnerabilities shared in whispers. It expands through forgiveness, through understanding, through willingness to stay when staying feels easier than leaving. And perhaps that is the heart of it. Love that doesn't hurt feels easy. Not effortless, not perfect, but easy in the sense that you no longer fight to prove your worth, you no longer fear the next heartbreak, you no longer doubt whether caring is a mistake. You begin to understand that real love is not meant to feel like a battlefield. It is meant to feel like a sanctuary. A place where you can come tired, worn out, uncertain, afraid, and still feel welcome. A place where your flaws aren't weapons pointed back at you. A place where your heart isn't something to hide. A place where you are safe to grow, safe to dream, safe to hope. When someone holds you dear because you showed them love isn't meant to hurt, you become a sanctuary for them, and they become one for you. And as time moves forward, the connection built between you becomes more than affection. It becomes understanding. It becomes partnership. It becomes a future shaped from two hearts who learned how to be gentle with each other. You start to imagine things without fear, plans, dreams, memories yet to be made. You start to trust the stability you built together. You start to believe in the softness of something real, and maybe, on some quiet evening, when the world feels still, they will look at you not with surprise, not with hesitation, but with the profound recognition of someone who finally knows what love truly feels like. They may not say it often, they may not have all the words, but their actions will tell you, "You changed everything for me." And when they hold your hand or rest their head against you or simply choose to stay in your presence, you will feel it, the gratitude, the trust, the affection, the peace. You became the reason someone stopped running from love, and they became the reason you stopped doubting your heart. This is the quiet victory of giving love that doesn't hurt, it multiplies. It circles back. It grows in the other person until it reflects gently onto you. It creates a connection that honors both hearts equally. It builds something that doesn't collapse under pressure because it was never constructed from fear. It was built from sincerity, from patience, from soft strength, from the willingness to care even when it was easier to close off. So as this story settles into its final words, hold on to this truth. Someone holds you dear because your love reminded them of their worth. Because your gentleness healed wounds you never saw. Because your presence softened parts of them they thought were permanently hardened. Because your heart spoke a language theirs had been waiting to hear, and the ending of this journey is simple, clear, and beautiful. Love isn't meant to hurt, love is meant to heal, and because of you, they finally know the difference, and because of them, so do you.